This is our second year using iReady.
Okay.
And so we are using the diagnostic assessment that they provide. And then through the various reports, that's how we have structured what we call win time. It's the what I need. Our big push this year, in which we've kind of themed as going green, meaning in the platform, green is on grade level. So our approach is to move students forward and move the needle towards getting students on grade level, as opposed to an approach of kind of like a deficit mindset of just trying to reduce the red.
Well, welcome back, and we're glad that you're joining us with us today as we have a very dynamic leader and someone that I'm excited to talk to about interventions, but this is Dr. Samantha Echebelem. So if you will, would you introduce yourself to the group that we're talking to this morning? Tell us a little about yourself and how you got to where you are.
Sure. So I am Samantha Echebelem. I serve as the Director of Intervention Services in Duncanville ISD, which many people know us as the City of Champions. So we are excited about not only winning on the field, but also winning in the classroom. So I'm excited to share just how we are moving forward in championing success in our classrooms.
Oh, well, there you go. And you talk about, the City of Champions, and I'll go back to the mid-90s because, I think one of the school districts that I was in played Duncanville in the state championship for basketball.
Uh-oh.
And I think it's gone both ways
Okay.
in the different things that are there. So success on both sides of it. So want to talk a little bit about interventions. So tell me the success stories or the successes that are going on at Duncanville with interventions.
So we have rolled out an entirely new intervention framework, really focused on a few elements. One, making sure that we're diagnostic in our approach, meaning that we're not just going to give general interventions. We want our interventions to really be aligned and tailored to student need. And then really providing high quality instruction through the use of our intervention resources. And then lastly, making sure that we're progress monitoring. We really want to measure the success and the impact of our work as we move forward.
You talked about three different ways, and I kind of want to talk a little bit about all three of them.
Okay.
And really, as you're looking at the data, because you talk about progress monitoring, that's so important, from the teacher's perspective and then also from the administrator working with teachers and things. So talk a little bit, if you will, about the data that you use to be able to target the instruction that we're working on.
Sure. So this is our second year using iReady.
Okay.
And so we are using that, the diagnostic assessment that they provide. And then through the various reports, that's how we have structured our what we call win time. It's the what I need.
Right.
And so
Right.
we are structuring the what based on the results from the diagnostic, as well as standard mastery assessment. So our big push this year, in which we've kind of themed as going green, meaning in the platform, green is on grade level. So our approach is to move students forward and move the needle towards getting students on grade level, as opposed to an approach of kind of like a deficit mindset of just trying to reduce the red. So more of a mindset shift and really helping our students get to grade level. And so that standards mastery assessment is also part of our framework because we're assessing students on grade level, right? Not just necessarily where they're performing. We want to make sure that we're aligned to grade level standards.
No, and you mentioned going green. I love that. We're talking about going green, and we're talking about the interventions that you're working with, and a lot of that has to do also with some development. You said you just implemented iReady, going on a second year. I think is what you said. So talk to us a little bit about how that looks as far as going from one, changing that system, because again, it's a system
Yeah.
that you have, and it's improving the things that you have going on. So as you're working through that, talk about the system of that professional development that you have with teachers. And then also, and here in a little bit, because I do want to, it's also about administrators, providing that professional development for them to understand, hey, this is where we're targeting, this is where we're moving, and how that works.
So we have taken the approach with our implementation, not just to say, here's another resource to put in front of teachers. What we find equally important is not just having a high quality resource, but thinking through what implementation looks like. And as part of our implementation plan, we have ongoing professional learning, both from my department as well as the partnership that we have with the iReady training, So to make sure that teachers are equipped and empowered with how to use the resource. Because again, it's not just about having a high quality resource if teachers, aren't implementing it and implementing it well. So we've placed that at the forefront as part of our implementation plan. And then the other side of that is with administrators. This year, we are really studying the 4 disciplines of execution. I'm
Oh, I
not
love
certain
it.
if you're
4
familiar with it.
disciplines of execution. Yeah.
Okay. And so right now, we're really focused on the first 2 for right now. And the first one is creating a wildly important goal. So district-wide, our wildly important goal is increasing the number of students on grade level. So each campus administrator looked at their individual campus data, and they set forth a goal for the campus of what percentage they want of an increase in the green. The book talks about a lot of things that are urgent and a lot of things that are important, right? But with this wildly important goal, we're really channeling our efforts. Instead of trying to do all of the things, we are putting all of our efforts into our wildly important goal, which is getting students
right.
on grade level.
Out of the green. I mean, into the green,
Into
out of
the
the red
green.
and out of the yellow.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I'll say the second discipline, too, I think is what's really going to move the needle for us. Goal setting is not new, but the approach in the 4 disciplines talks about creating lead measures, right? So that lag measure, that's nothing you can change in that moment, right? So we take the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year assessments. But what are we doing in the in-between time? And so that's where we've really focused on those lead measures that we are measuring on a weekly or biweekly basis how students are performing. And so we're using a lot of the iReady resources in order to do that. So we're tracking usage. We're tracking not just the number of minutes on the platform, but also the performance element. So we're making sure that our students are not just on the platform, but they're on the platform and performing. And if they're not, we're doing something about it in that moment, right? We're not waiting until the middle of the year or the end of the year to adjust. So I'm really excited for how we're using the 4 disciplines and really coupling that with the resource in iReady because I just really believe that we'll find great success.
Well, it sounds like the systems that you have, when you're talking about, hey, it's top-down instruction, and then it's also top-down executive system that we have in place to ensure that we're going to, like you said, focus on that goal. But less is more. So I want to make sure that we do that. So your superintendent comes in, and they go to the classroom. What are they going to see in the classroom that's going to be different than what we've seen before when we're talking about this type of system?
Yeah, so our district-wide goal, too, is also making sure that we're providing high-quality Tier 1 instruction.
Right.
So that is certainly something that superintendent or whoever might visit will certainly see, looking at making sure that we have increased student engagement, that we're providing aligned instruction. I think oftentimes educators confuse fun with engagement. As well as it can be fun, it can be engaging, but if it's not aligned to that grade level state standard, then we're shooting kind of in the dark and expecting our students to master grade level content. So if any guest walks in, those are certainly some of the elements that we would hope that would be seen.
Well, then again, it goes back to engagement, and nothing is more important than what happens in the classroom. And I don't know if this is a fair question or not. So I know because of you working with MTSS as well, you talk about the social emotional learning aspect of it and things. So what are the students saying about this intervention? What are the students saying about how this works, and how are the students with student discourse, and how is all of that taking place?
So you mentioned the student discourse. One of our big pushes is academic discourse. And I remember here recently showing educators as part of professional learning some of the discourse cards that are in the teacher toolbox for iReady. And I just remember just the sheer excitement of whoa, like who knew this was here? And it's something, I hate to say it's simple, but yet powerful of the resource and how to get students involved and engaged and using academic discourse and owning their learning.
Oh, and that makes it so much fun whenever you see the kids they're the ones that are actually doing the learning. Because again, the person that's doing the talking is the person that's doing the learning.
Yep.
So as we look at all of those different types of things. So what words of advice would you give a teacher, an administrator, on developing this intervention program that's going on? So what words of advice would you have?
I would say to start small, right? There are a lot of different resources that are available, a lot of ways in which you might, intervene or connect with students. There's so many options. But I think if you are really firm in just the basic foundational approach of, utilizing a diagnostic and aligning student need and incorporating high quality instruction with progress monitoring, that's where anyone should begin before we start adding in all of the additional bells and whistles. Because oftentimes, we get so overwhelmed with all of the things that nothing really gets done well.
Right.
So just really staying firm to just some core elements of intervention would be my best advice.
Well, and I love the targeted interventions and like you said, the core elements, because if everything's important, then nothing.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other questions that I want to ask before we kind of get to the end of this is we've talked about we've talked about students, we've talked about teachers, we've talked about administrators, and you've talked about the district-wide goal in making sure that we're very targeted within our interventions. Tell me a little bit about those conversations with parents, because I know that that's one of those things that is important, that yes, it's parent engagement, but we don't want to just call you whenever your child isn't acting right.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make sure that we're talking about those other good things that are happening. So tell me a little bit about the parent conversations.
Yeah. So I can speak to one elementary that comes to mind readily, who, as part of their different events, like one that just occurred was their Data and Dine. And so they allowed student leaders to talk to parents about their data. So utilizing the available reports. And then in addition to that, they also had a station set up with, one of the family liaison specialists within our district that connected parents with how to access the online platform at home. We created flyers that have, here's how to access with the username and the password, and what you need to know, and how you can further support your child at home. So we're really developing a partnership. So yes, we're, we've got a strong framework in the district, but we also want to connect with our families and not only just have them or make them aware of how their student is performing, but also how they can support in the success. I think, educators and families, we share the same goal, which is, wanting the students to be successful.
I love the fact that you have student leaders sharing that with parents, because again, you really want parents to come to the school, have the students that are performing, and not performing, but actually teaching in the things that are kind of going on.
So with that, though, then I have to give a shout out to Acton Leadership Academy in Duncanville ISD, because that's who I thought of with the Data and Dine.
Oh, I love it. Active Leader, say it again.
Charles Acton Leadership Academy.
There we go, Charles Acton Leadership Academy. Great plug in for the great successes that they're doing. So a lot of good things are there. So as we close up and as we talk about Duncanville ISD, okay, in 3 years, Duncanville ISD will be...
We will be a premier school district for both winning in the classroom, and of course, we'll continue to sustain our success on the field as well.
Well, and it's very exciting to hear about the interventions that are going on. I know that our students are going to be successful. Our teachers are getting the support that they need, and our administrators are as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Echebelem, for being with us this morning. Really appreciate the information, everything that's going on there. And again, if you want to know more about the great things that are happening at Duncanville ISD with interventions, make sure that you go on to Curriculum Associates webpage at www.curriculumassociates.com. Thank you.